A very good afternoon to everyone again. Welcome to IQI Weekly International Sales Sharing. My name is Minkit, and I'm an international property consultant of IQI Global, and I'm your host for this webinar. On behalf of IQI Global, I would like to thank you for tuning in and support our program from week to week. In this program, we will feature various real estate opportunities and also investment criteria globally. Besides that, we will be sharing some of the hottest projects and investment hotspots in those respective countries as well. So do join us every Wednesday at 3 p.m. FB Live, like right now. Well, highlight of today's sharing will be the upcoming policy changes for migration to Australia. So let's find out together. And without further delay, let's welcome our guest and our speaker, Florence Tang. She's a migration lawyer, a registered migration agent, and also JP of Australia. So Florence, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so did you guys hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for inviting me for this seminar. And today I'm going to share with you guys about the Australia migration, some policy and changes. Before I started, I just quickly introduce our company. So actually, Eversharp Group is a company that set up in the 1980s. So it has more than 35 years of history already. So we actually focus on the migration rules, investment, etc. And besides myself, actually, we have another lawyer, Mr. Tall, also my partner, that we are actually doing all the migration cases together. Okay, so before we start, just to refresh everyone, maybe you guys have been to Australia, so you can see that Australia, there's Opera House, Harbour Bridge that is very famous of. That's why many people would like to go to Australia for migration, for study, and even for property investment. And because Australia, there's two really famous animals, kangaroo and koala bear. So probably you guys have been really know much about these two animals. Okay, so I just quickly introduce about Australia. As you guys know that the area is large, however, the population is not that much, probably around 25 million. And for the weather, it's pretty good because in summer it's not too bad. Many places there are many sunshine and stuff like that. That's why everyone, when they compare Australia to other countries, they think that Australia is pretty good because of the weather. Not that cold like Vancouver, London, those places always quite cold. For Australia, the weather is pretty famous. And for the currency, if you compare with the Hong Kong dollar, it's around 1 to 6, so it's not that high. Because the highest is like kind of 8.5 before, so now it's like lower. So we say that no matter for my investment, migration, or for you go study or even purchase some property for investment, now the currency is a bit low, it's not too high, and it's good for investment. Okay, so why do we want to migrate to Australia? Because of a few reasons. First of all, the medical treatment is pretty good in Australia because the system that if you get the Medicare card after you get your permanent resident, then you can go to see a doctor for free. So it's free of consultation. That is pretty good. And besides that, many people would like to go study in Australia. And because if you get the Australia permanent resident or citizen, actually there's 12 years of free of education. So 6 years for secondary school and the 6 years for primary school. So total of 12 years. Besides that, there's a lot of pretty good welfare system in Australia, such as for unemployment benefit, for some new start allowance, even for some babies, they give you some benefits for the mother to take care of the baby, something like that. So it's a pretty good system as well. And we have many clients, they like to invest in Australia and even start a business. So in Australia, even you have to do a business, it's not that hard because you can actually register a company within a day. So and then you can start do your business and make some money. So actually it's a pretty good environment for doing small business. Well, for taxation, I understand many people probably was quite worry about the taxation. However, the taxation system is a progressive tax system. What it means is the higher income you go, and then the rate that charge will be higher. So currently the lowest tax rate around 19% and the highest around 45%. So for some company, it will be lower around 28.5% for the company taxes flat rate. And apart from that, you guys can know that for Australia, the passport can go to many countries and it's like free for getting a visa. So it make that Australia ninth ranking, ninth in the world. Apart from that, you guys may know that in Australia, we have a sister country, which is New Zealand. We have a really good relationship with New Zealand. So if you want to travel to New Zealand, it's really easy. You just go there and then they automatically grant you a visa. So you don't have to do all the work to apply and then do all the paperwork and stuff like that. It's really convenient. So after talking about many good benefits of migrating to Australia, there's actually a few main pathways that can migrate to Australia. The easiest will be the skill migration, and the other one will be the employer nomination scheme. And the most people that may be going to apply will be the investment visas. Well, for family, as long as you have any like a spouse, parent, or kids that in Australia is a citizen or permanent resident, then you can apply for a family reunion visa. And actually in Australia, the migration policy is quite open. That's why every year they have a lot of quotas for people try to migrate to Australia. And you can see that actually the quota is quite sufficient for each year. Okay, so first of all, I start with the skill migration. Actually, for skill migration, why Australia want to do the skill migration? Because we are having a demand for some skilled migrants. We want the people over the world, which is skilled, and then come to Australia to contribute the economy. That's why we have the skill migration. And each year, the government will review the occupation list and see that what kind of occupation is in demand. Normally are some professionals, for example, accountants, engineers, surveyors, also different kind of like nursing, doctors, lawyers, different kind of occupation, we all in demand. That's why if you guys the occupation is on their occupation list, which is in demand, then you may try to apply the skill migration if you are eligible. Okay, so actually there's an age requirement as well. So you have to be under 45 years old when you apply. And as just now I said that you have to be the occupation on the occupation list. And after that, you also have to pass a skill assessment. Normally, what they look at for skill assessment is whether you got the relevant degree, like the education qualification. Apart from that, like whether you have the related work experience. So normally, we need the reference letters and stuff to prove that you really have the relevant skills to do the skill assessment. So once you pass the skill assessment, you also have to meet the English requirement. Normally, for the IELTS test, you have to get minimum competing English, which is around 4.6. So listening, speaking, reading, writing, you have to be 6 for all bands. After that, you also have to do a point test. So the point test normally look at your age, your English level, your qualification, your work experience, etc. to see whether you can get a minimum of 65 points in the point test. If some people say that, oh, sir, is it 65 points must guarantee me getting the skill migration? Not really, because quite many people competitive for this program. So the higher points you get in the points test, the higher chance you're gonna get. And for some really demanding occupation, actually is quite competitive. For example, like accountants, like many years ago, accountants just probably earned 55 points, 60 points. But recently, these 2 years, you will find that even for skill migration, they are actually looking for 95 points or above. So it's pretty high. Kirsten, you think like the minimum point just 65, but they are looking for 95, so it's quite high. So for some really demanding occupation, they're looking for really high points. So sometimes you have to think of some other different skill migration scheme. Because for independent skill migration, they need really high points. But for some like some area in the state, for example, like Victoria, Sydney, Adelaide, different state, they have also their own occupation list. And if you meet their state requirements, sometimes the points can be lower, like around 70 to 80 points, something like that. Then you probably get a chance already. And even you say that I can't get that high points, probably you are sitting around 65 to 70 points, maybe you have to consider like regional areas. So what do you mean by regional areas? As long as other than Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, all other cities are actually regional area. So you can think of even like Perth, Gold Coast, Wollongong, Newcastle, all these beautiful cities actually is already considered as regional areas. If you guys don't mind going there, actually you can get a lower point, less stress, and you can still get into the skill migration program. Okay, so if you say that I really can't get those points, so what else you can do? You may try for the employer nomination scheme. So the age is still 45 years old under, and this time the occupation list is a lot more, which is include mainly general occupation, like for example, company secretary, human resource manager, customer service manager, sales and marketing manager, marketing specialist. So you can see that more chances is coming up. So actually for all these occupations are on this employer sponsored occupation list, so the chance is higher, but you still need the skill assessment. So still have to look at whether you have the qualification, work experience, and stuff like that, and see whether you pass the skill assessment. After that, you don't need your point test, but you need an employer that sponsor you. So for example, if you're accounting and you can't get the points that high, like just now I say 95 or 100 something, probably you can find accounting firm, probably some KPMG, Big Four, this kind of firms, or even the smaller firms, but it's accounting firm can nominate you for an accountant this position. You can still go for some employer sponsor visa. So this one will be easier. So for those people who can't get the high points. Okay, so I give you guys a summary. If you guys can get really high points like 95 or above, then you may go for the independent skill migration scheme, and the subclass is 189. And just now I say if your points are a bit lower, probably around 70, 80, something like that, you probably meet the state nomination that requirement, then you might go for the 190 subclass skill migration program. However, if your points a bit lower, like around 60 to 70 something, probably you can consider go to some regional area like Perth, Gold Coast, those places, and get the 491 subclass visa. Please note that for the 189 and the 190, this two is permanent visa, okay? So you guys can already be the PR, and then you guys already can do whatever you want. However, for the 491, this one go to regional, you actually is getting a temporary visa. You have to work in the regional area for at least 3 years before you switching to apply for the PR visa. So you have to take a note of that. And for the other one, which is the employer, depends whether your company is like, if your employer is a Sydney accounting firm, then probably you can go for the metro city area, which is 482. However, for example, it's an Adelaide accounting firm, then you may have to go to regional area and apply for 494 visa. No matter which one, you still have to work for an employer for at least 3 years before you apply for a PR visa. So this is normally for the skill migration and employer sponsor migration scheme. We know that everyone have to be under 45 years old. Okay. So this is some migration update. So actually, for just now what I say, the skill migration, each month they will have some invitation round. So if you get the points higher, then you will see whether you get picked up. Okay, so if someone say, oh no, actually I'm over 45, so what else you can do? You probably have to think of the investment visas. So investment visas, there's a few types of that, and then the subclass will be 188. So we actually put it like 188 A, B, C, D, E. Okay. So for different visa, we will see which one you may suit for, and then you can see which one is suit for you the most. Okay, so actually, in coming July 2021, we actually will be only 4 investment visa left. So only A, B, C, and E. So D and 132 will be closed forever. So this one is something that you have to be aware. And now I'm gonna to go through some requirements for you guys, so you guys can know that the details. Okay, so for 188, normally what kind of people may suitable to apply for this visa is for those that is running a small business. So some SMEs, those people, entrepreneur, you may consider this kind of business visa. This one you have to be 55 years or under, okay? And you have to be running a business like you involved in the management role, the operation of the company. And you have to meet the company turnover like this one. Okay, so it have to be at least for 75K for each year and for at least 2 years. Besides that, you guys have to have the shares requirement. Normally, we will say that you have at least 30% shares in the company, then will be good. But please remind that these shares you have to hold for at least 2 years. What I mean is, for example, you will say that, oh, I got a family business. My dad can transfer the shares to me. So does it mean that I can apply immediately? Not really. You have to hold the shares for at least 2 years before applying. So even if your dad really generous that they can give you the shares immediately, you still have to transfer the shares under your name for at least 2 years before you applying. And for that 2 years, you have to meet this turnover before, okay? Besides that, you also need to show that you have at least some net assets before you apply. And in the new policy, they increased the net assets amount to 1.25 million. Okay, so the assets can be including you and your spouse. So for example, if you say that, oh, I got a family home, but it's joint name with my wife, that's fine because you guys join name, so you and your spouse can count together. So the assets can count together. Okay, so but the thing is, have to be net assets. What it means is, for example, your family home is 1 million, for example, okay, but you still owe the bank for some mortgages. You have to minus that and count that as the net assets. For example, you're owing the bank for 500K. So the net assets will be 1 million minus 500K. So only 500K can count as your total net assets. Then you have to add up different other stuff before you meet the 1.25 million, then you can apply. And for investment visas, you still have the point test requirement, but this time it's a lot much easier because they look at your assets, your turnover, your management experience, more than your qualification and stuff like that. So this time will be easier if you are like not really that good at English and stuff like that. Well, for the requirement to change PR, to be honest, it's not announced it yet. However, you guys can have a look of the old policy because we actually expect the new one won't vary too much. You still have to run business in Australia, okay? And for the business in Australia, you have to meet some requirement like the company turnover, employ some local staff. So normally we will suggest you to employ at least 2 or more local staff. What you mean by local is permanent resident or Australia citizen will be local. So you guys have to employ some people in Australia benefiting the economy in Australia. So after that, you also meet the residency requirement. In the past, the old policy need you to live at least half the time in Australia. So we expect the new one will be similar, okay? Okay, so for some people say that I'm not a business owner, I'm not entrepreneur, anything else I can try for them investment visa, you may decide about this 188B visa. For this one, you don't have to start or run a business, you just have to have investment experience. So what it mean by investment experience? Let's look at the details. So for this one, you still have to be 55 years or under, and you need to have at least 3 years of investment experience. So what I mean by investment, probably we have clients like buying and selling properties, and then you renting out, leasing out properties, and buying some shares or stocks, funds, different things like maybe some currency, and you have to do some hedging stuff like that. So all these kind of things, those financial derivatives also count as investment. However, you need to be the investment amount at least 2.5 million Australian dollars, and you will be eligible for this visa. Okay, besides that, you also need to have the net assets. The net assets will include your investment. So probably your investment under assets can like a family home plus another investment property for rent plus some stocks or some fixed deposits, maybe some funds or some hedging, some currency, stuff like that. So all add up together, you probably need the amount and you can try to apply for this visa. And for this one, please note that you still have to get the 65 points. And also you have to see whether you have the experience, the assets, stuff like that. Then you can try to apply. For the old policy, for this one to change PR, you just have to buy the government bond. However, for the new policy, they're not allowing you to buy the government bond, but to buy some investment funds. So for the investment fund, you have to invest continually for 3 to 4 years for at least 2.5 million Australian dollar. And while for the residency requirement, in the past, there's been like 4 years, you have to live for 2. So it's like half. So for the new one, we expect we'll have the similar residency requirements. And the third one that I'm going to talk about will be 188C. Chris, just now, no matter 188A or 188B, you have that age requirement, which is 55 years or under. So for some people who overage but still really want to go to Australia for migration, anything they can do, yes, this is the one for you. 180C visa. This one, you have to invest at least 5 million Australian dollar to some investment products for at least 3 years. So for this 5 million, there will be some breakdowns, like at least 1 million have to be in some venture capital funds, and for the 1.5 billion, you have to be in some management funds company, and those company have to be listed in the ASX, okay? And at the end, for the 2.5 million will be some balanced investment, so you can have a more diversified portfolio to balance the risk of the whole portfolio. And while for the requirements for applying for PR, the residency requirement will be to be announced. But in the past, for the old policy, normally each year average only 40 days. So it's not much as long as you go to Australia for like vacation, visiting some friends and families, muck around for a while, you actually already meet the requirement. So it's not that hard to meet the 40 days requirement. So we expect in the coming new policy, they will have a similar situation will be like around 40 days a year. So probably you have to live for a number of days, then you can get the 188C PR. And this one's supposed to be the least residency requirement among all the visas. And the last one that I'm going to talk about will be the 188E visa. For this one, normally will be the for those like called entrepreneur or startup visa. What's the good thing about this one is you don't have to have any business operation experience, or you don't need those investment experience, and you don't need a large amount of money like 5 million investment. So this one probably is a pretty good choice for you. So this one also 55 years or under. However, the most hardest thing for the clients that we have is they say English is their obstacle, okay? Because this one is compulsory English requirement. You need to sit for the IELTS test and get at least 6 for all the bands, okay? So 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 4, 6, okay? So not everyone like can try to do this one. We have clients like try for many times but still fail. They go to English class, whatever, just to try to get the IELTS. So if as long as you have good English and can try to get the IELTS, won't be a really big problem for this 188E visa. So normally you have to have an idea. The idea have to be really innovative, and then you actually pitch Australia fund company that really happy with your idea and investing money into your idea. So normally we will help you to think of a really good plan, innovative plan based on your background. After that, we will collaborate with those fund company. They can work with you to run this business idea and run for a few years. After that, you meet the requirements, you can then apply for PR. So actually, it's not that hard. Normally, you just need to meet the residency requirement and cooperate with those fund company to run the business properly, like to meet the turnover and for some stuff like that, then you can get the PR visa. So I have talked about 188 investment visa. I understand there's many uncertainty because of the policy not announced it yet. However, from the information we have so far and the past policy, actually we expect will be really similar. Stuff won't be too hard. Okay. So if you like running a business at the moment, meet the requirement, you might decide to go for the 188A visa and go to Australia, operate business for a few years. After that, if you don't have this one, you can think about 188B. This one is for you to have some investment experience and go to Australia to invest financial products for a few years. If you don't have management experience or investment experience, doesn't matter. As long as you have money, Australia welcome you. And you have to invest 5 million Australia dollar and to buy some financial products. And this one, the good thing is what? No age limit and no point test, not much English requirement. That's it. Just need money. So it's a really good thing. And the residency requirement is the lowest among all the policy. And the last one will be that 1A-E. Even you don't have much business management experience or investment experience or don't want to spend that much money, that's fine as long as you got good English and we can think of a good startup idea for you, innovative, and then we work with the fund company, you can still try to get a visa for Australia. So this is the overview for you guys to have a look. Okay, so let me go through the whole process. If you think that, oh, pretty good, Australia is my thing. So you probably can think of this procedure is we will look at your case and see whether you meet any of the criteria, no matter skill migration, employer sponsor or investment visa. And then we start to prepare the documents for you, and then we have to launch the application for you. Normally for skill migration, it takes around a year to process everything to get the visa. And even for investment visa, the actually processing time is similar, around a year, but sometimes will be longer. Depends on the country of residency. Because for some countries, for example, recently for Hong Kong people, they have to give them priority. That's right, around a year. But for some like in other country, like we have clients in Malaysia, Singapore, different country, maybe sometimes 1.5 year, or some country takes 2 years. It depends. So normally it takes time to process, and once the visa granted, you can then land to Australia and start your investment, start your work. So this is the presentation that I'm gonna share with you guys today. Any questions that you guys want to ask so far?
Okay, Florence, thanks for the insightful sharing. Okay, for those who are watching now, if you have any more questions, please drop it at the comment box and we will come to it one by one, and then we will answer it one by one. Okay. Let me go to the question. Okay, Florence, what is the minimum taxable annual income? That's one of the questions from the audience.
So the minimum taxable income, right? Actually, in Australia, like what I say, it's a progressive tax system. That's why we all of us have a tax allowance. Okay, so if you are under 18200, then it's free of tax. Apart anything add from that, you have to see which tax bracket, and the lowest tax rate will be 19, the highest will be 45%.
And thanks. And then there's another question. Can you elaborate what do you mean by invitation round for each month, and how do we know if there's any invitation?
Okay, so normally we will have to launch a EOI, express of interest. So once you launch express of interest, then will be in the system, and you will get EOI number. And then each month they will have a monthly invitation round. Then the computer system will look at who get the highest point, and then they will pick up. For example, this month they had 100 quoters. And if there's, for example, 1,000 people launch the EOI, only the highest people, the highest 100 people get selected. So for those who don't get selected, you have to still keep waiting. And normally 2 years after, you still don't get any invitation, your EOI will expire. So you won't get any things say that I rejected you, they won't. But you just your number always in the system, in the poll, and then see each month whether they will invited you. If you're invited, congratulations. But if you're not that invited, just keep waiting. And if wait for 2 years, nothing comes up, then it will expire.
Then another one is what is the major difference between PR and TR?
Okay, so for PR will be the permanent residency. TR is the temporary residency. The main difference will be the welfare. If you just temporary resident, you don't have any medical benefit, no medical benefit. You have to buy your health insurance yourself. But if you got the PR, you will get the Medicare card, and you get that card to go to see doctor for free. So the main difference will be some welfare. And for education, some visa, some temporary visa, they still treat you as some concession, have some like lower a bit the fee. But for PR, must be local fee. But for some TR, some have concession, some not really. So actually the same. The welfare of the education system, not everyone free. But for PR, must be local fee.
Okay, and then okay. How much is okay? I read directly from the question. How much is your migration lawyer fee? And there's a second part to the question. When under TR stage, can we enjoy local rates for education, medical, and other social benefits?
Okay, so our migration fee actually varies for different visa type. Normally, skilled visa is the lowest one, and the investment visa normally is the highest one. The reason is for investment visa, where the workload is much more. We have to do a lot of things like source of fund, your assets, your management experience skills, how you manage the company or how you manage your investment, and then how we work out your all the assets, how do we do that, and then how do we work out the sources of fund, how the money comes from, everything, and the taxation stuff like that. So actually the workload will be more, that's why we charge a higher price. But for skill migration, actually it's quite easy. You have the English, you have the English, you have the skill, you have the skill, you have the qualification, you have it. I can't make it up for you, so it's like much easier. Yeah. And actually for your question is the TR and PR. So like what I say just now, for TR normally no medical benefit, only PR or citizens. While for some visa, like just now I introduced, like some employers sponsor those visa, many states that the school can still enjoy local fees or a concession fee. And for those 188 visa, it's still a temporary visa. However, they still treat you as some local fee students.
And for those under TR, when they get properties, is it under local law and regulations?
Not really. So actually, according to the property law, we define two types of people: PR or citizen and foreigners. If you are not PR, you're not citizen, you actually consider as foreigners, no matter what kind of temporary visa you're holding. Student visa, working visa, investment type visa, or temporary residence for this issue. And for this one, or have to pay the foreigner stamp duty for property, no matter what. Yeah.
Okay. Another one is after expiry, can the applicant still reapply for underskilled migration visa? That means after the expiry, can they still reapply it again?
Yeah, so just now I say that the EOI normally will last for 2 years. After it expires, you can launch it again. But the thing is, because they look at the date you launch. For example, okay, the higher the points, you will get invited. For example, I got 90 points, you got 90 points. Then we will look at who launched it first. If I launch today, you launch tomorrow. Even we have the same point, I go first because I launched today. However, if I got 90 points, you got 100 points. Even you launch after than me, but your points are higher, you will get first. You will get a priority. So if the points are lower, then they will have to wait. But if we have the same points, then we will see who launched the date first.
And will property investment help to increase to get additional points?
Not really get additional points, but can help in some ways. Why I say that? Because just now I introduced a few investment type visa. One of them will be the 188B. And for 188B, they normally look at your investment skills. So property investment is count as part of your investment experience. So if you buy or sell properties or rent the property out, which is a investment management activity, then you can use this want to help apply this 188 base. So actually it can help. And after that, when some policy is that you have to invest 2.5 million into the funds, right? But besides that, you can also do some additional investment. For those additional investment, you can plan to buy a property for investment purpose that will help you easier to apply for a PR. So it can be help in some ways.
Actually, just wondering, because when I look at your slides on the maximum fit 45 years old, actually, I always have the understanding it's 40 years old. Has it been changed recently, or has it always been like 45 years old?
It have been actually for those visa, starting from 2012, July 1st, actually it's been this policy already.
Okay.
Yeah, but even for the previous policy, their age is higher.
Oh,
So
okay, okay.
before it's under 50 years old, and recently these few years they lowered to under 45 years old for
Because the
skill
reason
migration.
because the reason I ask is many of my
They
friends who
just want to
migrated.
get more young people probably.
Yeah, because their understanding is always 40 years old, you know. So I see a lot of my friends, like as they're approaching 40 years old, like when they are 36, 37, they immediately go and rush for the application. So that's why when I saw like 45 years old, I was a bit surprised. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
actually, because just now I mentioned about the point test, the older you are, the lower the points you have.
Yeah.
So for 30
Okay.
something years old, you still have higher points. But after you reach 40, your points will be a lot lower. Then you will be really hard to get into the skill migration. Even you have many work experience, really good English, high qualification, but your age will lower a lot of points in this case. Then you compete with other, your chance will be really low.
It's like, in other words, is it right to say that, let's say for those who are working for global MNC with very good income and they are in their early 30s, chances are really good, right, for them?
Yeah, normally I would say that if you are like want to go for skill migration, under 40 years old is the best time. Yeah, if you're like over 40 years old, they expect you have money and worthy and you go for investment visas.
Okay, okay, got it. Okay, I have this question actually comes in two parts. The first part is for the benefit of those who come in later and for those without much knowledge about this migration thing. Can you just briefly share what are the benefits to the people who are migrating over to Australia? Part one, the question. Part two is uh why Australia is so good as compared to other regions? Because I mean, like there are a lot of people like looking at this country, that country. So why Australia stand out for those who are comparing? And for those who have decided what are the main benefits? A bit hard to
Okay,
share.
so for the first
Okay.
yeah, for the first part, normally why people will want to migrate to Australia, normally they look at the medical system, because for Australia, their medical system is really good. Why I said that? For example, I have a friend. When she gave birth in Australia, there's like 8 to 10 people helping her in the hospital just to giving labor. You know, so
Mhm.
you can see that in Australia, the resources are really good just for giving birth, okay? But in other country, yes, you still have people helping you when you're laboring, but not 8 to 10 people, probably 2 or 3 maximum. A doctor, midwife, nurse, done. So in Australia, the resources allocation is really good. So the medical is really good compared to other country. So this is one example. And for the education system, they are like free of education for 12 years, unless you really want to go to some international or private school. But many state school is really good already. So not really have to pay a lot to go to private school. So their education system is well recognized. You will also always heard that, or from which country, which university Australia have done the research and plus blah blah blah. So actually, the education system is really good. Not only UK or US have the good school, Australia have good school as well. Okay, so this one is the thing that people want to migrate to Australia. And the second question, when we compare Australia to other country, normally the people look at 4 countries. Which 4? UK, Australia, Canada, and US. Okay, for US, the school are good. However, some people will think about the taxation system because for US taxation, even you're not living there, you like overseas, but as long as you are US PR, your income is global tax. So one of the issue that people may have to think about. And for Canada and UK, to be honest, the weather. If people think that, oh, I'm really hate cold. I don't like to wear like me. You see, that's why some people will think that, oh, it's too cold. Not everyone want to stay in there for long, and for some, and their cold is not just cold. It's really cold. It's like minus 10 degrees Celsius, something like that. It's not. It's not a. Everyone can stay that kind of weather, okay? So when you compare the weather and you want to find somewhere you really want to live there for long, for retirement, something, you want to find a place that you want to live. Not every day I have to look at the snow, work off the snow and stuff like that. That's why
Take your car out
Australia
from the snow.
weather, yeah, weather is the thing. So the weather, the environment, the fresh air, and also actually Australia, the natural beauty. Because you can see that population size, not much, but the area, a lot. So we have many really natural beauty, like the trees, the forest, many good environment that people want to go there just to want to stay in this area, this kind of environment. That's why.
Just to understand better, I mean, from your experience, what are the top few groups, I mean, in terms of nationality, that has been moving to Australia in all sorts of like migration visa? So what are the biggest groups? Just a
Okay,
rough
if you
estimate.
ask me, for skill migration, we have many for skill migration, many Indians. To be honest, we have many really good engineers from India um appoint us to be their legal representative. And for Malaysia and Vietnam, we also have some pretty good like accountants, bankers, this kind of people also. And some other country, we also have clients. It actually depends. But for investment visa, to be honest, mainly Hong Kong and China. We do have some wealthy Malaysian and Vietnamese also appoint us. But if we have to look at the numbers, Hong Kong and China stand up for investment, while the other country, their skill migration more. So it depends on the type of visas.
And I personally, actually, I know of a big group of people who has that have young kids. I'm talking about those in either preschool or primary school level. So anything that you want to you want to share with them on, because they are thinking of moving to Australia, and because I mean the main reason is for education, because they like the Australian, especially the tertiary system, the university system, and all this. So they want to move to Australia, and they plan to start planning right now. So anything that you want to share with them on, like, what should they start doing at this moment, and all the way to like moving there later, and any, just briefly.
Okay, so actually for the Australia education system, even first just now I mentioned that the free education is for primary and secondary school. So you would think that for kindergarten or maybe nursery school is not free. However, government have subsidized. So for example, there's Monday to Friday, you take the kid to play group, whatever, for 2 days a week. That 2 days you got subsidized. So this is Australia. They try to have some policy, try to do something to help the mom to look after the kids. So not only you looking after as a full-time mom, you can put them into some play group and stuff like that. Let them to play with other kids, more socializing, and then actually you have subsidy for that. So this is some policy that government do just to attract more people to send kids to migrate to Australia, live in Australia, and in the future go study and contribute in the economy.
I really love that part. Okay. We still have another few minutes. Anything else that you want to share with us to sum up?
So far, I have first the latest policy is not out yet, so I just share whatever I have on hand. But in the future, if you guys have any questions, and then I'm happy to assist you guys.
Yeah. And how is it, like every year there are major changes or just minor changes? I mean, for the in terms
Actually,
of the
first, the policy that I mentioned about, it starts from 2012 till now. So it's been 9 years already. So they now it's kind of like a big change for this time. just for this time. But normally in Australia, the financial year is from 1st of July to 30th of June. So now it's already 16th of June. So it's kind of like the last quarter of the financial year. So that's why we have some new changes in July. Yeah, that's the reason.
Okay. Actually, just the last question. This one is out of my own curiosity. After after the COVID-19 thing, has the migration increased or decreased to Australia? I mean, over the
To be
last 1 year.
honest, to be honest, increase. The reason
Okay, that's
is
what I thought.
it's really obvious. It's really obvious when
The
you look
governance.
at the positive case number in UK, in US, Canada, and Australia. It's obvious Australia just around 20,000, something like that. 20,000,
Yeah,
30,000. But for
the
other,
government
it's
is
like
so responsible.
some is like over 1 million, and then like they has like there is not 20,000, 200,000. That's the when people look at it, you will see that the case number confirm and the other countries, the numbers tell you the fact.
I think their response is excellent as well, because like they are very
Yeah.
responsive. I mean, like the increase of numbers, even like to double digit, they quickly lock down and they manage it very well. So okay.
Exactly. That's why the people can see. They can see it from the news. They can see what the government is doing. That's why they will want to go to a health and safe country to live. That's why Australia migration actually increased.
That's what I thought. That's why I was thinking like asking you this question. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Florence, for today's sharing. Okay. Let us close now. Okay. So please do stay tuned to our Facebook Live every Wednesday. For every week also we meet at the same time, 3 p.m. And if you miss any of the episode, do log into our Facebook page and also our Facebook channel. And feel free to, if you still have any question, feel free to drop it at the comment box and we will come back to you on this. So meanwhile, stay safe and take care. So I'm Minkit, and thanks again, Florence, and we'll be signing off.